Chapter 1. May I join you? He looked up, nodded, and she sat. How long have you been sniffing the dog's bollocks? His one eye swiveled accordingly. He thought his wife beautiful. He shrugged. He was good at shrugging. Kirk out, he said. Mandy had seen this before, though not the Star Trek shrugging, although she had seen his shrugging before, often associated with equivocation. Sometimes he would pour himself a Jameson's and swirl it, sniff it, put it to his lips, but not sip. And here he was sniffing, not sipping, the dog's bollocks, an ale second only to his favourite London Pride, and doing it very much as he would with his Irish whiskey. She looked across the C&A's narrow, intimate bar and saw, as she expected, perched precariously on a stool too big for him, the dishevelled short-ass Bernie LeBolt Thompson, Portsmouth Evening News crime reporter, who was here following the chaotic conclusion to the press conference, looking to get some news crumbs off Jack's broken emotional table. Bernie looked at Jack, then swung his gaze to Mandy, who gave him her best "leave my man alone" stare in return. The skinny runt of a reporter averted his eyes to the table in front of Jack and his untouched and only sniffed dog's bollocks, and shrugged himself. As far as shrugging went, it was pretty amateur. She also expected to see Roy and Will, the people Jack was probably waiting for. She decided to wait with him. She didn't expect to see Della, though in an extraordinary way she hoped she would. But it had been a tough day or two. Jonas had picked up a couple of wounds from the shootout in the cemetery and must be wondering what he had gotten himself into with his Cockney sparrow. Bruce, the burly old landlord of C&A's, a gentle soul, brought Mandy a cup of cry and tonic and waved away the charge, asking, "You okay?" A gruff voice which suited his ox-like beery frame. Saw the news conference, been hearing all that happened, and SpongeBob's been in, moaning on and on about Jack. How we'd not owed him one, or something like that. His lifeboat was all shot up, and he's at a loss as to how he was going to explain that to the RNLI, Royal National Lifeboat Institute. SpongeBob was the local lifeboat skipper, and Jack had recruited him and his lifeboat, calling in non-existent favour to assist in the rounding up of a brutal horde of fascist thugs someone had coordinated sufficiently well for them to act as a small militia. They had been attempting to take over the secret military command bunker, known as the Glory Hole in Portsmouth. This plan had been thwarted by Jack Austin and Della Lovington. Della was a detective inspector down from the Met in London, but also MI5. And coincidentally, she thought she had resigned, but hadn't. Della did, however, think Jack should retire, and had told him so several times, much to the chagrin of the more experienced and uglier of the two Cockneys. Mandy was exhausted and looked it. It had been a hell of a few weeks for her, too, coordinating the police operation, being in the thick of it, being shot at, and eventually rescuing Jack from a fireball sea off SpongeBob's lifeboat that Jack called Thunderbird 4. She was grateful for some small mercies in that they had moved from Thunderbirds, where everybody wanted to be Virgil, onto Star Trek. No argument. Jack was Kirk. Mandy knew she was someone, but couldn't be bothered to find out who. Likely O'Hara, she thought, subconsciously playing around with her ear. Bruce knew all this. He knew about Jack and Mandy and knew he was bloody Scotty, engineering up the beer and dilithium crystals, cheese and onion crisps, and didn't expect an answer from Mandy.